BD here, welcome back to the YouTube channel, and in this video we're going to talk about The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol, aka Daryl Dixon, Season 2. I've seen all of the upcoming episodes, so in a spoiler-free fashion, we're going to talk about what the other critics and fans are saying who have seen these episodes, what I think about them myself, rate them out of 10, and talk about whether or not this is a worthy return for Melissa McBride as Carol. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for taking this ride with me, and let me know if you want more Walking Dead content in the future. Let's jump in. Ashley Hurst says, "It's a gripping, emotional ride that reunites two fan favorites. The journey is intense, introducing us to some brilliant new characters. S1 was great, but S2 is on a whole new level. A must-watch for TWD fans." Julian Cannon says it is a massive improvement over Season 1 of the show. The characters become more of the focus than the backdrop of France. A ton of great moments that were good too. Meanwhile, Amy West of Games Radar called it a frustrating follow-up, lacks the freshness of the far superior first season. Katie Dahl from CBR says the new season upholds the emotional brilliance of The Walking Dead, but what made Season 1 promising and different from other spin-offs is now collateral damage. IGN's Matt Fowler reviewed it and gave it a 7 out of 10 overall and said, "Taking the Daryl Dixon series and splitting it halvesies with Carol means that a few Season 1 elements had to peel away. That sometimes feels too forced, but on the whole, Carol arriving in France is meant to throw a wrench in Daryl's new life, even as it stands on the precipice of crumbling on its own. The Book of Carol, despite the story's occasionally clunky reshaping, is still a potent, poignant reunion between two Walking Dead favorites." Shay from Lorette Magazine said Season 2 of Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol brings an essence to the show that we missed out in the first season. We follow Carol on a journey of the heart. She had pushed down the trauma of losing Sophia long ago, and through the calm of the storm, those feelings came rushing back. Paste Magazine says Carol joins The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon in a messy, emotional Season 2. I wasn't sure if this was trying to emphasize the messy or emotional / is it a good or bad review, so I clicked into it and I read part of it, and it had plenty of compliments like, despite its faults, there's something incredibly nostalgic about seeing Daryl and Carol back together again, even if the events that reunite them are somewhat contrived and far-fetched if you actually stop to think about it too hard. So as you can see, it's mostly positive stuff that I found, some negative, some kind of, I thought Season 1 was better than Season 2, but overall, I just found these by typing in Daryl Season 2 on Twitter, and these are the first reactions and reviews I could find to keep my approach to that part of the video completely neutral. Season 1 of The Daryl Dixon Show, I would say, is the best spin-off series that has been part of the Walking Dead franchise since the Walking Dead flagship series ended. Season 2 overall is good. Not as good for me, but I thought it was still good. It is split into two halves, and it's not exactly racing to Carol and Daryl's reunion like the Rick and Michonne show did, and I actually liked it more that way because I liked the show more while Carol and Daryl were separate telling individual stories. Carol's story is the more interesting of the two happening in this season, at least from my perspective, as Daryl's feels a bit more like wheel spinning, just to kind of make sure he had something interesting to do while Carol was on the journey to reunite with them. Now, all that said, I know I criticized Daryl's side of this. I thought the relationship he has with Laurent is really powerful and good this season, and it only grows, and I also really like where they went with his relationship with Isabel. In fact, I find Isabel to be one of the most interesting characters at this point in the whole Walking Dead universe. And as for Carol, absolutely masterful return to form. I feel like they took all the things fans like about Carol, really leaned into them, sometimes leaned in a little too hard. It felt like they were trying to really show us they're listening. But then when there's the moments that felt really organic to Carol's badassery, so on board. Loved it. I also want to shout out that one of the earlier reviews I read said that Carol getting to Paris is contrived. On the flip side, I actually felt shocked that I bought into Carol's journey to France and found it to be very interesting and believable. I actually really enjoyed that part of it. But also I have to say what really stood out to me is how they also dove into Carol's trauma over losing Sophia, losing people she loves, having had the terrible life experiences she has had both pre-apocalypse and post-apocalypse. And I felt like in The Walking Dead, it was such a big ensemble that they never really had the chance to fully explore that with her. And in this show, it really does a nice job of putting a bow on that part of Carol's life and giving the audience a way to get that kind of catharsis with her. Well done. I'll say the upcoming episodes, 2 through 4 were my favorites. I thought they kind of peaked right there. The finale wasn't super strong for me, but it was better than the Rick and Michonne show finale. I really wasn't too fond of how they rushed through that. I don't think this show rushes through anything. In fact, I think it's the opposite. It draws things on a little bit longer than maybe it needed to. But the finale also does have a tremendous emotional payoff that I think longtime Walking Dead fans are going to be wrecked by, and I do have to shout that out. That part was very, very good in the ending. That said, there is something that happens in episode 4 that truly irked me. Like, I'm genuinely frustrated at one of the creative decisions this show makes, And I won't say anything more than that. You'll wait. Maybe we'll talk about it after episode 4. But I was really disappointed by one storyline and how it all goes in episode 4 specifically. Some other things I really liked about season 2 of the Daryl Show, or the Book of Carol, whatever you want to call it. Some of the visuals from France were great, and there are new characters who expand the world pretty well. They're added into the mix. It also feels really rewarding in some subtle ways for those of us who have been on the Walking Dead journey since the show started back in 2010 and watched all of it, which I assume is like everybody who's watching a show about Daryl and Carol in 2024 anyway, so it makes sense we should be eating well. There's also a really good side quest episode for Carol on her journey to France, which I thought was great. Some of the flaws, I think like a lot of situations in the Walking Dead shows, simple conversations would solve a lot of problems, but they don't happen in favor of providing conflict, and it's just frustrating, and that to me falls on the writing. And the villain didn't really land super well for me overall, even though I kind of understand where he's coming from and what he's going. I didn't find myself super emotionally invested in his story, other than like, we need Daryl and Carol and Laurent and Isabel to survive this guy. Beyond that, I was like, okay. Overall, I think The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol was good. Daryl, of course, has his share of badass moments. Carol has them too, but I think Daryl is at his best when he lets that guard down, shows the vulnerable side, and the gruff grunter guy gets a little bit big-hearted, and that's when he's most appealing to me as a member of the audience. Carol's return is actually outstanding. I think Melissa's work acting as this character, she's so good. She's just, we all know Melissa McBride is going to deliver every single time she's on screen. She does. I'm a little disappointed in the fact that by the end of the show, there are some questions I have about where the show's going. I know there's a season 3 coming, but some of it seems like it could really feed a bigger Walking Dead universe picture, but I don't really trust that there is one happening, especially after the way that the Rick and Michonne show wrapped up. That introduced such a big threat to the universe and then wiped it off the board before it ended, basically all in one episode. So while the Daryl Dixon season 2 ending does have some nice open-ended threads that I'm like, cool, I want to see where that goes, I'm reluctant to buy in that this universe is going to pay that off in a fulfilling way. I'm excited to go to Spain, though. Daryl, Carol, these characters have a future. We know season 3 is coming. That's exciting to me. And so for season 2, aka The Book of Carol, I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. It's good. It might be like a 7 point something, low 7. There were some highlights, some lowlights. One thing that really frustrates me, some really fantastic moments, and some really good emotional beats, which I appreciate from the Walking Dead universe. And above all, it rewards those of us who have been fans of this property for over a decade now. That's cool. We're all in this together watching The Walking Dead at this point. Are you looking forward to The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Let me know what kind of Walking Dead videos you'd like to see if you want to see more from me on the channel. And please continue to subscribe. I'll hopefully be talking to the cast of Daryl Dixon at New York Comic Con, so look out for those videos right here on the channel. I'm BD. I'll see you in the next video.